Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So we have another episode of handbags throughout the years. Last week we talked about 1995, a year where we saw some really iconic designs, also a year where we saw some incredible minimalist designs. And for today's episode, I thought we'd move forward to 1996. And I know this series hasn't exactly been in perfect order. We were talking a few weeks ago about 2007, but 1996 is just too hard to skip. This year did bring us some unforgettable bags. It also gave us some cultural shifts that went hand in hand with fashion that really shaped the way people dress, what they carried, and how they expressed themselves. So let's talk about bags and moments that made 1996 a standout year in fashion history. So the first bag I want to talk about is the Hermes Vinyl Kelly bag. So this is probably one of the most unexpected and playful departures for the brand. Hermes, of course, is known for their traditional leather craft. This bag is often referred to as the Kelly en plastique or the vinyl Kelly, but it's a transparent Kelly, very different from the heritage leathers, modeled after the Kelly silhouette. They were originally sent out as eye-catching invitations for their spring-summer show and were a reaction to the devastating attacks on public transportation the year before. It was a very tragic event. In response, security in France was tightened, particularly at high-profile events. This see-through Kelly bag breezed through security checks while memorializing the tragic events. This from Ginza Jaioma. This transparent vinyl Kelly became so popular that Martin Margiela, then creative director at Hermes, made a new version for its traveling exhibition. And this is from 1997 to 1999. Hermes held a traveling exhibition in Japan called the Hermes Exhibition in the Wonderland, and visitors were able to buy the secondhand version of the transparent Kelly. And in 1998, an orange vinyl Kelly came out as well. On the bag, you can actually see the years that these bags were made. There's also a difference in the styles from 1996 to 1997, as well as later on the introduction of the color orange. But these types of bags haven't been as in trend as I think they have been in the past, although YSL, for their recent summer collection, they did show this black, semi-transparent, translucent style, and it's advertised as a bag that you can wear on the beach, at the pool, things like that. But I remember in the mid-late 2010s especially, these types of plastic bags, they did have a bit of a moment. Of course, we did talk about last video, Chanel. They had their own spin on the style from their 1995 collection. And even if we just go way back though, to the 1950s, designers like Llewellyn Jones made bags out of plastic, Mary Quant and Judith Lieber in the 1960s. Throughout the years, there is every now and again a resurgence in terms of using more experimental materials like this to more recently. But yeah, this bag was a style that's been seen on people like Ariana Grande to Rita Ora. And it's also a style that if you search it on the pre-love market, I'm going to say this in quotations, but I'm saying it relative to the price of other Hermes bags, it's not as high. It's a fraction of what a leather Kelly would go for. And of course it's in vinyl, but I think on a conceptual and a historical level, it's an interesting style. The next bag that is on this list here is Moschino's Fudge the Fashionistas Let Them Eat Cake handbag. This bag was very emblematic of Moschino's signature satire on luxury and fashion excess. The upper portion of the bag, it's whimsically shaped like melted chocolate fudge dripping over the lighter base, and it's visually playful, very evocative, of course has a cheeky name, Fudge the Fashionistas Let Them Eat Cake, parodies Marie Antoinette's infamous phrase and underscores Moschino's tongue-in-cheek take on fashion culture. It's not just a fashion accessory, it serves as a playful commentary on indulgence in the fashion world and the way handbags have become such an indulgence, even just looking at this ad right here. Next, we have Louis Vuitton's 100th anniversary monogram collection. So this happened in 1996 and it marked the house's 100th anniversary of their monogram canvas. Instead of just looking back, Louis Vuitton invited a select group of contemporary designers to reinterpret the iconic monogram, and this was long before collaborations became mainstream in luxury, so it was really seen as quite daring and fresh for the world of luxury. And as WWD put it, it was the mother of all collaborations. Each creative was given the monogram canvas as a starting point, and they were free to design a new object. It didn't necessarily have to be handbag, showing how the monogram could exist in unexpected contexts. Now, an event that I think is worth mentioning here was the Met Gala tribute to Dior. So the Met Gala theme paid tribute to Christian Dior, and Princess Diana made her appearance at the event wearing this lingerie-inspired navy blue slip dress by Galliano. And at the event, of course, we see Princess Diana. She's wearing this satin Lady Dior. Again, we've talked about how this bag actually came out in 1994 by Gianfranco Ferré, but it was a noteworthy moment in 1996. But this specific satin style Dior referenced with a re-release in this beautiful navy blue kind of color, and of course it matched her dress beautifully, and she also wore her very famous sapphire and diamond earrings and that sapphire pearl choker she also famously wore with her revenge dress. These beautiful satin silk dresses were also very representative of that period, as well as I think Galliano's era, which in the later 90s we would also see more of his era. But going back to this bag, this was a style that we've talked about in previous videos. I think it has been immortalized by Princess Diana. Of course, it's a style that has had multiple iterations, multiple creative directors have put their own spin on the style. It's a style that's loved by many handbag enthusiasts. It has this very formal elegance, like it just looks like a princess bag. There have been transformations. I think of most recently, Maria Grazia Chiuri did her own spin with the Toile de Jouy, and of course she had many other versions as well. They also have their Dior Lady Art Project series. Jonathan Anderson, for his debut, we saw the Lady Dior covered in tassels. Another noteworthy, I think, occasion that happened in 1996 was Prada Spring Summer 1996. This collection was really quite exciting because it mixed 70s inspired colors, patterns. Look at these avocado greens, these sludge browns, and we've got it done in these quite like clashing prints. We've also got these clunky sandals, and again, it's how brilliant I think Mucha Prada is with redefining beauty standards. When looking at handbags from Prada to even Gucci and Calvin Klein from that year, this avocado and these kinds of like sludge colors were really in fashion. Very different in terms of, if we think about 1995 handbags, Versace or Chanel, like the bright pinks and just very playful colors. This was definitely a different color palette for 1996. And I think with 1996, it shows us that handbags didn't just have to be these really pretty objects. Handbags could be these cultural mirrors. The transparent Kelly spoke to the security and tragedy, but also resilience, proof that fashion could respond to the world around it. Moschino's fudge bag, it was poking fun at the indulgence and the excess of the very people buying into luxury fashion. Louis Vuitton's collaboration would be one of many which we would see in the following years. Prada also challenged what our perceptions of what ugly and beautiful could be. This is when we would start to see a bit of a change with this Met Gala moment. We have yet to really experience John Galliano in his full maximalist era at Dior, but we kind of are getting a taste of it. Of course, he was just at Givenchy, and again, compared to previous eras where handbags were about utility or this idea of luxury and craftsmanship, I think with the mid-90s, handbags really became these canvases for bolder ideas. Designers weren't afraid to challenge tradition, mixing playfulness with serious themes, pushing the boundaries of materials and meaning. 1996, we would see the continual rise of handbags as these cultural statements reflecting the complexities, the anxieties, as well as the optimism of the mid-90s. In many ways, 1996 set the stage for the explosion of creative collaborations and conceptual fashion that would define the years and decades to come. So that's my video, and I think I'm going to continue on with this series just because I think it's really fun. As much as I love talking about handbags from the present, what we are seeing on the runway, what people are wearing, I also think right now, especially, a lot of what we are seeing is the recycling, the revamping, the straight up reissuing of bags from the past. So I think it's just fun to look at what we saw from previous years. And again, this is part one of this series of bags from 1996, and this is again going to be something that is going to be ongoing. And And yeah, that's my video for today. Thank you so much for joining me in another one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!